Good morning. How are you today? Good to see you. 9:30, 9:35. That's good. Uh, what we would do today is to actually to try to synergize some of the thoughts which we talked yesterday by various speakers and try to see how it all fits together. There are a lot of messages, a lot of ideas which I wanted to speak, which have already been kind of, touched upon by various speakers yesterday. And one is already seeing some kind of a synergy developing. And there are a lot of examples of the synergy which we would be sharing with you. So the title of my presentation, though originally OGTC said that I'm going to speak about the success stories of quality improvement program, but I decided to change it. But I may also touch upon some of the work on the quality improvement program. So we're looking at mantra for sustained competitiveness, collaboration for success, how various entities can collaborate and chart out a path which is win-win for everybody. Brief coverage of the presentation is look at some of the challenges what we have, the kind of trust deficit and trust building that needs to be done to be able to get various members of the supply chain together, to be able to work together, to be able to have a common win-win model, how the collaborative approach can work, what we have been professing, what we have been disseminating, what we have been working and promoting with the industry, and some of the examples where people have actually worked together and have had excellent results out of that, creating synergy, working together. So, the challenge, we all know that the fabric prices are going up, 20%, 40%, some people are estimating at 50%. Huge volatility there. Labor costs, about 45%, 50%. Again, in the region, not only India, but across the board. Good thing is, standards of living are going up. People need to live better. Of course, the costs are going to go up. But that's where we need to play our role as managers, as leaders, to find out better ways of performing. Overheads are going up. Land prices in Delhi, Gurgaon, skyrocketing. And people are moving deeper and deeper into hinterlands, trying to see if they can minimize their costs there and so on. Challenges, social responsibility. Hours of work are under scanner. And we have situations where our labor force is all going back, centered out back home. No workers in the factories. Of course, the deliveries are going to get delayed. Overtime issues, overtime compensation, health and safety, and there are lots of microscopes looking at all these things. There are also some good NGOs, there are also some people doing sort of witch hunting and trying to find out if they can get a sensational story so that they can get more eyeballs, more readership. But it's a challenge, a lot needs to be done there. What do you find? That there's a growing mistrust between the buyers and the suppliers. That's the reality. We face it, we accept it or not, but that's the reality. Suppliers thinking, I put dedicated investment. Is there a guarantee of future business? I invest into social compliance program. Would that give me some kind of a preference while doing the business? Doubt still remains there. Will my developments will they land up somewhere else for being produced? There's a question. Codes of conduct. Why only for me? Are there codes of conduct for buyers? Question comes to mind. You might not be able to ask it. Sometimes people are asking it now. Is it only for us? The doubts on the other side, all these promises he's giving, is he going to fulfill? Is it true? This will be done, that will be done, that will be done. Are all the tall claims true? The mistrust is growing and growing. As a result, what we have a trust deficit. A lot of buyers are shifted to a low-cost country, and the constant drive to go to a low-cost country continues. Many buyers have gone bust, and people are again shaky about that, looking at the financials of buyers and so on. What we have is, in the buying organization and retailers, the sourcing arm and the social compliance are twin towers, don't meet, don't talk to each other. They work in silos. And as a result, again, there is a disconnect in the buying organizations. And again, that results into some kind of a dissatisfaction among people People feel that we are not working together. Sometimes we're working at cross purposes. But you have the commercial decisions which straight away go against the social responsibility norms and things like that. And of course, there's a constant hunger to source it cheap. There are cases where buyers have come down in the middle of the season and renegotiated prices. And renegotiated prices of unbelievable nature. I'm not saying that it's happening everywhere, but that's broad reality. Exceptions do exist. Okay, so in that background, how do we move forward? And there's a growing realization over a period of time that you can't solve some of the systemic, deep-rooted problems with audits. Buyers earlier thought that we'll have codes of conduct, we have auditing companies, they'll go carry out audits. You fail the audit, you have repeat audit. You fail again, you have re-repeat audit. Increase the cost of re-repeat audit so that people will put their house in order. We use a slide very often in our presentations that quality cannot be built through inspections and conditions cannot be improved through audits. Audits can only tell us what's wrong, and most of the auditors are only trained to find faults. Auditors, again, there can be exceptions, are not trained to provide solutions. The job is to look at faults. And fault finding is not going to let us go anywhere. So we need to look into the root causes, understand what are the reasons which are creating these kind of problems, like excessive overtime premiums. N number of problems are there. And unless you go to the root causes, we might not be able to get a clear solution. And you might just keep on applying band-aids where you have infection in body. You try to take care of one infection here, and you've got another boil coming in somewhere else. So what do we need to do is really work together. And what could be the ways of working together? What are the most important points? First and foremost, for you to reduce the trust deficit, we must be able to put ourselves in customers' shoes, both the parties. Both the parties which are not able to have a dialogue must be able to put themselves in another party's shoes and understand, which means a lot of excellent examples have been given yesterday that try to understand what's happening in the marketplace. Understand your customer's customer and understand the market compulsions there. And you'll understand why the buyers are demanding certain things the way they are demanding. At the same time, if the buyers are able to put themselves in suppliers' shoes and understand the kind of difficulties, the kind of environment they exist in, then there's a possibility of listening to each other. Otherwise, you're suspecting all the time. But that suspicion is not going to take you anywhere. So the skill or the tool there is put yourself in customer shoes. But it's not only applicable for buyers and suppliers. It's applicable within the organization. Different departments working together, not trying to understand each other's point of view. If they can put themselves in another department's shoes, the communication will be better. You'll be able to come together, sit down, discuss, and find a solution. Very, very important. It's also important to accept that this is not a perfect world. In the world, there are problems. First, we have to accept that the problems do exist. Then only you can find a solution. Sometimes we try to be blind. Oh, no problems. Our supply chain is clean. So what are you going to do? You only have lies and lies and lies. It's not going to work. So we have to accept the problem, know how big the problem is, have a strategy, and have a constant improvement, monitor it. Improvement is a game, denial is not. Because a lot of people have tried that, it backfired. And big brands have suffered a lot on account of that. So it's important. Accept. There is not an equal world. There are issues, we have to work at it. And we alone will not be able to solve all the problems of the world. But we are making sincere effort. Constant effort, improving with data, with evidence. Understand, we are all in it together. Either we all swim or all sink. It's the supply chains that are competing against each other. It's not one supplier competing against another supplier. Or one entity in supply chain sort of thriving on cost of another entity in the supply chain. Important. It has to be a win-win formula for everybody. Everybody has to be together. That's how the supply chain is going to really work and move forward or win. It's also important to know that the strength of the supply chain or a chain is equal to its weakest link. So you can't have too many dominant players very strong, but you've got some players who are not able to keep pace with it. They have to be strengthened, they have to be sort of done capacity building with, so you're able to achieve what you can. So in that background, I'll share some examples that how some brands and manufacturers are able to work together and try to eliminate this trust deficit and try to work for common goal. There are many brands which, again, Ram said yesterday that Mr. Dillard's flying down to meet the supplier just to tell them that we're going to be standing by you. Don't worry, don't go away. We are in it together. Difficult times will come, but tough people will last. All right? So people are talking to their suppliers constantly, applying their minds, brainstorming, understanding what are the problems at our end, what we can do in merchandising, what we can do in approvals, what we can do in our specs, what we can do in our communication, so that you are better off, so that undue pressure on you is going down, and what you can do so that we can be a competitive brand in the market. And I was just there 2 days back in Bangladesh in a supplier conference, and that's happening constantly. In India, Bangladesh, variety of sourcing regions, buyers and suppliers are getting together to brainstorm. What are the real issues? Keep all the, auditing business aside. Let us understand freely, what are your real overtime hours? It's not going to be taken as a non-compliance. But let's try to find out where can we go, why are they there, what we can do, what you can do. It's one example. So what we have been trying to profess and what we have been sort of discussing with variety of buyers as well as suppliers is that we must look at a holistic improvement program in the supply chain. And what I'm sort of sharing with you here is example for a garment factory. All right? We are looking at productivity, quality, and social responsibility to be taken together as a composite improvement program. When you have that, you implement it in a systematic manner, in a stage-by-stage manner, you have better outgoing quality because you have a quality improvement program. You're looking at improving your processes, improving your products, and you have better on-time delivery. On-time delivery was talked about yesterday because you're not losing time in a variety of processes. First, as a result, you have lower costs. Cost is important. People are talking about profits yesterday, and you've got improved possibility of profit sharing. Unless you have profits coming in, you will not be able to share. So the idea is, how do we generate positive cash flow through improvement program? While you're doing that, you're automatically able to take care of the worker earnings and workers' expected earnings. You're not talking about minimum wages, but what is the expected earning of worker? And can he do that without working too much amount of time in the factory? Is that required? A lot of time people say, oh, workers want to have so much amount of earnings, so we have to work 10 hours a day, otherwise nobody comes to our factory. If you don't work overtime, workers don't come to our factory. But is that required? For that person to make that much amount of money, I have to run my factory for 12 hours or 10 hours. Are there ways of doing the same thing in 8 hours? Worker gets more money, I save on overheads, it's win-win for everybody. So, higher worker earnings, higher motivation, that yes, this factory is showing us new way of living. Lesser overtime, lesser stress at work, workers are happier. Lesser absenteeism as a direct correlation. Your less work hours, the workers are likely to take less leaves because they still have energy left and they can manage with their Sunday. Otherwise, you have long working hours, you have unpredictable absenteeism, and that can be one of the major problems. That's what Paul talked about yesterday, and that can be killing. Some of the factories are living at very, very high absenteeism. But we also have factories in NCR region which have some excellent absenteeism figures, and I'll talk about that later. So at the end, what it allows you to do is a premium, what Mr. Kapoor talked about yesterday, which you can share with your workforce, with you as an investor, with your customer. You have some money which you invest into systems and technology. It's possible, it's happening, and we'll talk about some examples. So basically, we must be able to create a model which is a cash surplus model, which gives you cash flow to be able to take care of all these things with everybody winning. Recently, there's a project going on in a supply factory that works for a UK retailer. It's about 4 months down the lane. The company has already saved about $225,000. And the big bosses of the company have flown down to factory to see what's happening. The model is same. Create positive cash flow for everybody. All right? For the factory, for the buyer, for the worker, so you have a sustained business. So, what's the collaborative approach? We have the buyers, factory, sourcing company, consulting companies working together, applying their mind that how are you going to have a win-win situation? We are all there together. We can't be pushing the suppliers anymore. Enough has been done. Unless the suppliers feel that yes, we are together, we have a problem. Needs a lot of commitment from everybody. So you have the buyers coming down, working on the shop floor, understanding systems, giving their inputs, giving that commitment. Because sometimes suppliers, they get diverted, the attention gets diverted. Today one customer, tomorrow another customer. But when you have supplier engagement, when you have buyer engagement, then there's a focus. It's going to link to certain benefits with my customer. That's the team. Okay? So you got the buyers, you got the HR consultants, you got productivity consultant, we have Manoj there in that team. You got the factory, you got the buying agency working together for project implementation. I'm going to share this case study with you. A simple question was asked to the worker. Why excessive overtime? The factory tells that you like to work overtime. She says, if I work efficiently, there is no incentive. But if I don't work efficiently, I get rewarded through overtime. If I work efficiently, I go back home in 8 hours. It's my loss. So she understands it very simple. The short-sighted approach of the company. So, okay, can we create some incentive for her? Can we get her involved? So that means she is not connecting to the factory improvement program. She rather sees a factory improvement program is detrimental to her earnings. No good. Okay, a lot of things were done. The factory management was trained, industrial engineering concepts were brought in, HR systems were brought in, worker trainings were done, incentive scheme was put in. The factory in Bangladesh, working for a UK high street retailer, the productivity of the factory, you see, constantly moved up, substantial improvement. Pilot line, rest of the factory, huge amount of gap in the productivity. At the same time, the earnings of workers have steadily gone up. A helper is grade 7 and C-class operator who's kind of medium skill. They have the earning improvement from about 27% to about 50%. Monthly labor costs per piece going down. And for the total factory and the pilot factory, the labor cost is hugely different. We've got about 40% saving on labor cost per piece. So on one hand side, the worker is earning much, much more money, up to about 50%. But cost per piece going down about 40%. Overtime going down. And what else? Absenteeism is going down. The labor turnover is going down simultaneously. So we talk to workers. I'm going to sort of not show this slide to you, but I'm going to show a small video.
এটা আমাদের টার্গেট দেওয়া, এটা আমরা হলো 150 কোটি টার্গেট দেই, যদি আমাদের 7টার ভিতরে আমাদের কাজটা উঠে যায়, উঠে গেলে আমরা ওটা প্রোডাকশন করি।
আচ্ছা, এই প্রোডাকশন বোনাসটা কি পাও?
প্রোডাকশন বোনাসে আমরা হলো 9টা পর্যন্ত যে টাকাটা পাতাম, সেটা হইলে 7টার ভিতরে সেই টাকাটা পাই।
এই টাকাটা দিয়ে তুমি কি করো?
এই টাকাটা দিয়ে ঘর ভাড়া দেয়, আর হলো চাল ডাল এইসবগুলো কিনি, আরও কিছু বাড়তে থাকে।
এই প্রোডাকশন বোনাসটা তোমার কাছে কেমন লাগে?
ভালো লাগে।
কেন ভালো?
হ্যাঁ,
কেন ভালো লাগে?
এই যে বেশি করে টাকা পয়সা পাওয়া যাচ্ছে।
প্রোডাকশন বোনাসটা বলতে কি বোঝায়?
প্রোডাকশন বোনাস মনে করেন প্রোডাকশন যে টার্গেটটা দেয় তার চেয়ে বেশি হইলে মনে করেন 150 আর কি 1200, সারাদিনে 1200 টার্গেট হয়। 1200 টার্গেটে মনে করেন 1200 টার্গেটে 50 পিস যদি বেশি হয়, সেই 50 পিস টার্গেট হিসাব করে তারা 1220 পিস হইলে 30 পিস হয়, সেটা আমরা। আর সেই টাকাটা দিয়ে আমরা মনে করেন মা বাবারও যে ব্যাংকেও রাখি, আবার মনে করেন 3 পিসও বানাই, আবার মানে বিভিন্ন রকম অনেক কাজ করি।
এই প্রোডাকশন বোনাসটা তোমার কাছে কেমন লাগে?
ভালো লাগে।
কেন ভালো লাগে?
এই যে ওভারটাইম করি না, সাথে সাথে যাইতে পারি টার্গেট দিয়া, আর কি কষ্ট হয় না বেশি একটা। সারাদিনে কাজটা টাইম না কাজ করলে একটু বাসা যা আরামও করা যায়, আবার প্রোডাকশন বোনাসটাও পাইলাম আর কি, ওভারটাইমের থেকে বাচ্চা গেলাম আর কি।
So that's the worker's perspective, how it has changed her life. She's able to go back home in time, doesn't need to work so hard, is able to earn better money, and as a result, the impact on the quality of life of the worker. So many a time it's really important that we understand and listen to them. And there's a company amongst OGTC, and sometime back I visited them and I asked him, what is your current absenteeism rate? And he said the workers' absenteeism rate is 2%. How much? 2%. Unheard of in Delhi, this part of the region. He says staff absenteeism is 5%, workers is 2%. I said, what did you do? Tell me. He said, in a nutshell, my people started listening to workers. Only one sentence, but it has a deep meaning. My people, HR people, started listening to workers. And the fact that they started listening to workers, talking to workers, everything changed. Let's move further. So, to summarize this case, about 83% productivity improvement, worker earnings between about 30 to 50% increase, cost per piece 40% down, absenteeism about 50%, turnover of workers has gone down, rework level also gone down. And this became a case study, and it was presented in one of the supplier conferences where the GM of the factory came and said, this is what we have done. It's possible, it can be done. Please join your hands with your buyers, work together. Another case in India, another buyer, UK High Street, high value, boutique items. The two factories have been engaged with. Again, the same kind of engagement, buyer, buying agency, factory, consulting team, ours, working together, trying to work on a variety of issues. About 19 to 22% productivity improvement. In the initial phase, the project is still going on. Reduction in lead time, throughput time, improvement in quality, things are working well. Again, we have a brief video of the worker here, because the previous one was in Bangla, and this one is.
मुकेश जी, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे, आपकी जो फैक्ट्री में इंसेंटिव स्कीम लगाई हुई है, उससे आपको क्या फायदे मिले?
कम समय में ज़्यादा काम होगा, 10 घंटे 8 घंटे में काम करेगा, ये प्रोडक्शन भी अच्छी आई, इसमें अच्छा लगा, पैसे अच्छे मिले।
Just a small 2 lines. कम समय में अच्छा काम किया, मेहनत किया, 8 घंटे के बजाय 10 घंटे के बजाय 8 घंटे में काम किया, पैसे भी अच्छे मिले. As simple as that. We're talking about collaborative approach, but collaborative approach can be used in various areas, and OGTC is an excellent example of collaborative approach. Working together with other associations like APC, working with government agencies, working with funding agencies, working with trainers, working with educational institutes, working with consulting firms, creating a forum like ICAHT. It's an excellent example, and OGTC is not only inspiring the industry in this country, it's inspiring industry in other countries. The examples of OGTC are quoted in Bangladesh, examples of OGTC are quoted in Central Asia, Eastern Europe, wherever I go, I ensure that people understand how this collaborative approach works, and people are emulating it, people are learning from it. So from that point of view, thank you OGTC. We are really proud and very happy to be associated with you, and it's been an excellent journey. Let's move further. Talking about OGTC, and yesterday there were talks about reducing cut-to-ship loss. And last year we had a case study presentation here where 2 of the OGTC member factories talked about what happened during their journey of implementing quality improvement program and post-implementation, how they're taking things forward. There was a team from a factory sitting here listening, went for a quality improvement program subsequently. In the opening session, we're talking to people, and I quoted an example of Radnik, and they said, Doctor, we see your role as Jambuwant, who reminded Hanuman of his powers, that you have the powers and you can cross that sea, because as a young boy, you lived to catch the sun. So is your power. Be reminded of your power. Do the job, what God has created for you, what you're supposed to do. And he said that that's what is your job, and you're creating our people into Hanumans. 1 year later, I was quoting that story in another company, telling them that this is what is your power. You must achieve this. There was a very experienced lady from the trade sitting in the factory, and she said, unfortunately, we've got too many Jambuans and very few Hanumans here. I said, that may be your perception. I don't want to be having that kind of a notion when I'm starting with the factory. I believe that everybody has a potential and they can do the job. To cut short the long story, here are the results of that factory. 3 months straight, their starting rejections were about more than 9%. About 4th month, they were at 4.45. You're talking about 4.45% or 4.5% of sales being straightway added to your bottom line. That's a big, big money. So we're talking about profits, we're talking about cut-to-ship ratio. What we believe in is our people have tremendous amount of power. They need to be reminded of their powers. They need to be supported. They need to be told that, yes, you can do, and given direction. And the companies yesterday have shown the evidence that, yes, it can be done. So, hats off to these people. They believed, they worked, and got some excellent results. So, to conclude, how are we doing on time? So, to conclude, yes, these are challenging times for everybody. And nobody is spared. Logistics company, shipping company, buyers, retailers, all right, technology providers, including suppliers and their suppliers. But we have to find ways of sustaining. But in each process, there's the improvement potential. Unfortunately, because of certain practices of variety of players, the exporters feel a too much amount of pinch because everything is being pushed down to their end. All right? But that's not a sustainable way for brands. And even brands are realizing now that we need to sit with the suppliers and understand what are the implications of wage rise, what are the implications of material price rise, what are the implications of accessory price rise, or for that matter, energy costs and so on, and work out a sustainable model. Because beyond the point, if you push, then you're not going to get true collaboration. And then people will hide information, and hiding information is not good because you don't have then a transparent supply chain. All right? So, enough opportunities exist even at the retail end, retail distribution end. And there are companies now in India collaborating with their buyers, buying stakes in the marketing companies and showing them how to manage their operations better, how to manage the distributions better. So it's not required, and that's what being talked about yesterday by Asmara, Devender, that you are looking at an outsourcing company. The retailer knows his customers the best, and he has a space to interact, either a virtual space or a physical space. Can you take away the rest of everything? Let him concentrate on him and his customers. Can you do everything for him? And there are companies across the globe now trying to do that job or doing that job very, very well. And that is where the clear message is that we can value add. We have to have a win-win solution where everybody is able to see that we are benefiting from a collaborative approach. It's not I win, you lose. For someone to win, somebody doesn't have to lose. It can be we all win together. And if that can be done, and the examples show that yes, there are companies which have taken those initiatives, they're working together, the trust deficit has gone down, they understand each other better, they talk to each other constantly, frankly, keep all the bureaucracies away. What are the problems? Let's speak, let's be frank. All right, can we address them? What we can do, what you can do. And if we can work like that, that's the way forward. A collaborative approach will give us a solution other than us versus them, we versus you, we the customers, you the suppliers. Those days are gone. Thank you very much.